Where it was.
Yep, that's it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Brent, and thank you so much, everyone, just for the opportunity to share a little bit about our journey today. As Brent said, my name is Tom Cardamone. I am the principal here at Harvard Junior High School, northwest suburbs of Chicago. We're actually closer to the Chicago, or excuse me, closer to the Wisconsin border than we are to Chicago. But I started here. Well, this is first of all, this is my 28th year in education. My background was I was a language arts teacher for 9 years and then shifted into administration where I've been an assistant principal for 5 years and then a principal beyond that. And I had a really unique opportunity to start at Harvard Junior High School well, a little bit about myself. First of all, I'm very, very proud dad of two college age kids who in the breakout room, if you heard me, I'm really excited that I get to see them in a couple of days when we get to pick them up to bring them home from college for the winter break. So really looking forward to that as well. My wife and I have been married for 21 years now, or excuse me, 23 years, I should know that. And we actually met through the realm of teaching, which is really, really fun. I was an English teacher, she was a dance teacher, and we got connected through families that knew both of us. So that's been a really, obviously, huge joy in my life. And like I said, getting to see the kids next week, bringing them home from college, which is really fun because obviously, as we're talking about AVID, we're talking about that journey to college and career preparation and seeing, although our kids didn't go through an AVID school per se, but seeing those skill sets that have really helped them to be ready for college. And then how we see it is filtering down to the junior high level where I'm at currently. So had a unique experience. I started here at Harvard Junior High in January of 2020. So really a perfect time to start in in a new school right before COVID happened. My presentation is not working right now. Okay. So just a little bit about who we are at Harvard. We are as you can see, these are our state demographics coming from our school report card and our state report card. We are about a 73% Hispanic community, and we are northwest suburbs, like I said, is a combination of kind of like some farming community and then a very large Hispanic community as well that really makes up our school. And I'll be honest, like shifting where I had been previously to Harvard was a really big change for me. And it was the first time I'd ever heard about AVID when I started here in January of 2020. It kind of took me a little bit of time to kind of wrap my head around what it was. Maura Bridges, our district director, I know is on this screen as well. She really helped me out in kind of wrapping my head around what it was, but really how all the goals of it really build towards the long-term growth of all of our students. So again, a little bit of who Harvard is. This is who our demographics are. Definitely some diversity there. And then we also have a very, very high English language learner population. For our district, we're right around 44% of our families define as Ls. We're at 15% who have graduated through access testing, et cetera, who may not be identified as Ls anymore. But that's just sort of a breakdown of who we are. And so really, when I started here, and again, I was learning more about this program, about why it's such why AVID is so incredible for our school district and for our community as a whole. A little bit, I want to just talk about the title of this presentation is called From Targeted to Demonstration. And as Brent said, we are not a demonstration school yet. And I want to focus on that word yet because I think it's a really great word in just in the world of education in general. But we're working towards it. We definitely have some growth to make and some steps to take before we hopefully get that nationally certified demonstration recognition. But the idea of when I started here in January 2020, if you're familiar with the state of Illinois school report cards, every state, or excuse me, every school, gets a designation from the state of Illinois based on student performance, proficiency, growth levels, etc. And when I started here, we were a targeted school. So we were a school that was targeted, meaning we had a subgroup in our school district that was performing at fifth or below fifth percentile for the entire state in those demographics in that subgroup. And so that was, with that coming into play, we immediately, when you're a targeted school in Illinois, you're automatically partnered with the state and working on a school improvement plan. And I'll speak about it a little bit further on in a moment here. But one thing that we did when we It was legitimately second week in January. I just sort of started here, and we talked about how do we build a school improvement plan. So it's not five, we have five schools, excuse me, in our district, a pre-K school, uh, uh, kindergarten through third grade, fourth through fifth grade, sixth, eighth, junior high, and a high school. And all of our schools had different designations, but we were all working with a school improvement plan. And we had a really great meeting, like I said, second week on the job, where we got all of our principals together, our principal leadership team together with our district administrative leadership team, and talked about how do we build collective goals versus each of the schools having kind of their own individualized plan and really having some more consistency to that. So I'm going to speak about that a little bit more and kind of how we got there, but I'm going to backtrack. But before we kind of go back to the journey from even before I started here, are there any questions I might be able to answer up front just about Harvard, or please jump in during the course of the slides as well? Okay. All right. Well, just jumping forward then, a little bit about where we are as a school district. In 2017, our school superintendent, Dr. Corey Tafoya, started here in Harvard, and he came along with Maura Bridges, who is our district director and coordinator of college and career readiness. And through that time, through some of their previous experiences and work together, big background of college and career readiness, wanted to kind of lay that pathway, lay that vision for where we want Harvard, where they wanted, and where we wanted Harvard School District ultimately to go. In 2017, in partnership with the School Board of Education, there's an establishment of, we call them BHAGs. I'm sure many of you have probably heard about this before, but Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals. And so we have a collection of Big, Hairy, Audacious Goals, and one of them being, and with a deadline date, a goal date of December 31st, 2026. And one of those BHAGs, one of our BHAGs for our district, was that Harvard District 50 will have AVID demonstration schools. It's obviously a long journey, as Brent said earlier, and those of you who are AVID demonstration schools recognize that it's a journey to get there, but really the process of getting there needs to be done with intentionality. And that's where I wanted to go back to what I was talking about earlier with our school improvement plans. So what we did again, we focused, and again, I want to give all the credit in the world to Maura for bringing this idea to the table. We sat there at a group of principals, and it's that time to write school improvement plans for the 2020-2021 school year that we would be submitting to the state of Illinois, and really focusing on what those areas of growth towards proficiency were. And Maura had this wonderful idea, and we really built a framework about it where we broke down our strategic planning, our strategic goals for the entire district, literally old school, cutting up pieces of paper and sticking them to a wall and making statements of what we wanted our focus to be for our strategic goals. And I was saying earlier that all five schools were kind of doing their own thing. Well, we brought in the AVID framework, we brought in the CCI framework, and really focused on all of our school improvement plans having four areas of really focus, and that being instruction, systems, leadership, and culture. So again, that was kind of fully immersed, let's say January 18th of 2020. How do we collectively, as five different schools and five different principals and a district leadership team, really move forward with all the same language, the same goals, and the same focal points? And so that's how so if you look at, we have a hub for our school district, and every single school improvement plan is framed the same way. The growth targets, the areas, the specific goals might be slightly different, but they're all aligned in the same framework, the same format of instruction, systems, leadership, and culture. So that is the framework that we have continued moving forward with for these last 4 or 5 years now that we've been working on our school improvement plan. That work ultimately, and I'll speak to this later on as well, that ultimately the school improvement plan is the focus of our building leadership team work as well. So we're always coming back to that and seeing where are we, where do we want to continue to grow, where do we need to continue to grow to meet those areas. So that's kind of our journey starting back in January of 2020. So I said this again, the CCI, the framework here, this is the focal point of everything. So not only is this the framework for our school improvement plans, our goals in our buildings, but it's also embedding now into all of we're working with Solution Tree to also have a goal of becoming a certified or nationally recognized PLC school. And so one thing that we're doing is we're not just talking globally, to a staff of 66 people or a building leadership team of 10 people, let's say. This work also carries into the vertical work that we're doing at grade and content level teams. So we want to make sure that it's not a group of, 8, 9 people who are receiving a stipend to be a part of the building leadership team to make sort of those decisions of our school improvement plan. It's always this continuous cycle of discussion being brought back to grade levels, being brought back to content areas, and how do we always kind of make that cyclical? So really what we're doing at the end of the school year is we're adjusting versus recreating something brand new. So this concept of the CCI, what I showed earlier, those 4 domains, that is really the impetus of everything. So going back to kind of where we were on March 13th of 2020, we had the shutdown. And we had this opportunity of, again, just mind you, I've been on the job for maybe 10 weeks at that point, trying to really figure out moving forward what were short-term goals, but COVID really gave us a really great opportunity for long-term goals as well. And so really an opportunity to reimagine how we were doing things at Harvard Junior High School and how to really focus on this being moving forward. We also adopted AVID Excel as an elective in 2020. So we had the AVID elective school, and I'll speak to that in one moment, or AVID elective, excuse me, program courses sections, but we then adopted AVID Excel, which, not going to lie, big undertaking going into an unforeseen upcoming school year. Little did we know that on March 13th, 2020, we wouldn't be back in school again with people face to face again until some of us February, March of 2021. So we brought in AVID Excel slowly, 1 year at a time, starting with the 6th grade class. And then we also had an opportunity to reimagine how we implemented the AVID elective. One thing that I remember, I walked into this and there were some tough conversations, but they got us to where we are right now of there was some aspects of staff members who had the AVID elective as one of their courses, one of their sections that they taught every day. And I think this sometimes happens in some schools, was like the extra thing. So I might have been a 6th grade language arts teacher and I have 5 sections, but I had this other section of AVID elective. And some of that was done with great fidelity. Some of it was like, oh, this is an add-on. And are we moving forward with the integrity and the fidelity of the AVID model as best we can if we had so many different people who were kind of having this as an extra versus it being the whole plate? So what we did in 2021, and Lori Thomas, our site team lead here, is our AVID site leader, is here in this meeting today. In 2021, we were fortunate to be able to bring in Lori, and she became our full-time AVID elective teacher. We reimagined our schedule, reimagined how many sections of AVID we were presenting to our students on a daily basis. And Lori's been a really, really incredible addition to this to really show that growth of where our students can go and where our AVID programming has gone. And for that, I just wanted to share this data. So going back kind of years at a glance, in 2020-21, we had 78 students enrolled in the AVID elective, and we had 13 students in AVID Excel. And that was our first group of 6th graders that were in AVID Excel. You can see where the numbers have progressed in, AVID Excel has grown by grade level, and then AVID elective has really grown over these last 3 years. And I'm gonna celebrate Lori publicly here. It's a great testament of what she's doing with our students that are making this even more and more of a desirable place to be in the AVID elective. Similarly with AVID Excel, I just want to kind of jump ahead. This year, 2024, 2025, is the first time that we have one teacher who's teaching all three of our AVID Excel sections, a sixth grade section, a seventh grade section, and an eighth grade section. And again, the AVID Excel is targeting students who are identified as English language learners and really giving them and helping them to build those strategies for success in language development, et cetera, moving forward. So we're excited to see where that progresses as well with that, for lack of a better way of saying it, more consistency of having two teachers really focused on the AVID elective and AVID Excel versus 4, 5, 6 teachers across the campus. I don't know if I have a plan slide here, but are there any questions about any of this before I move forward?
I have a quick question. You mentioned briefly servicing your ELL students.
Yes.
Did you create just a class for them and they were all enrolled in that course? What does that look like? Do you mind describing that a little bit?
Yep, I'm actually going to, if it's all right, that's kind of my next slide.
Okay.
So you're ahead of me. So what we do, before I jump into the next slide, are there any other questions I might be able to answer?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
So when you went into your SIP planning and you showed people who were not aware of AVID at all, these 4 domains, and said, your goals have to be around these 4 domains. How did that go and how did you kind of put that information out there?
I'd say it went really well because we started off small and it was kind of one of those concepts of, non-negotiables is language that's often used. So this was kind of like, these are the non-negotiables that as a district and as a principal leadership team we're committed to. And that the idea was that that's going to then permeate and build out through all of the buildings. I can speak for the junior high, and I'm very confident about speaking for the other schools, some of which are represented here. It becomes such a framework of not only building leadership team, but staff meeting structures as well. It's really that reimagining of how are we creating activities and engagement strategies, modeling the different Wicker or AVID strategies in those different settings as well. So it becomes more and more of what we just live. It's more and more of what we are. So really, I think the best way to answer that is that just became that non-negotiable. And it was, I don't want to say scripted per se, but everybody was saying the same thing back at the building levels. And to the point we're also then excited we get to share out our growth and share out our findings and our wonderings with the Board of Education and the whole district administrative leadership team. We have AVID parent nights where people come in. So we've really grown it kind of, not, I don't know if I'd say organically, but just really grown it intentionally through those different venues.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Andrea, I think hopefully this will get to your question. So really the way we did this is, remind you, I was a language arts teacher for 9 years. So if you see alliteration and rhymes, I apologize. But we really went from this idea from elective to selective. And the idea being when I started, it was kind of like if somebody signed up and said, I want to take AVID as an elective course, students were able to do so. To the point where now so Lori, our sixth grade, or excuse me, Lori, our site team leader, she goes down to Jefferson School, our 4 or 5 building, and she conducts interviews with students. First of all, students apply to be an AVID, which is something that wasn't, yes, applications were happening, but it was pretty much everyone who's applying was being accepted, to the point where now we've shifted that where students are applying and we are, at times are having a hard time where we do have to say no to somebody for AVID, whether it's the elective or AVID Excel, based on maybe some of those other needs that a student might have. Should a student possibly start in a reading intervention class, a little bit more, tiered intervention, focusing on just direct reading strategies with the goal that's a 12-week course that maybe a student can graduate from that 12-week intervention and then reapply to be an AVID. So it is, Andrea, it's an application process. It's an interview process. It is, first of all, a big commercial from Lori. She goes down and does an awesome presentation with all of our 5th grade students. And this sounds really cheesy, I'm going to say it, but sells the product, but more so sells the why. Why is AVID such an amazing program for all? So, and with that statement I just said, AVID for all, We're going to talk about that too, how we sort of sprinkled it more and more throughout all of our entire building. So it's not strictly for students who have been accepted into the elective program. We also have, once a student is selected and invited to be a part of the AVID program, whether it's Excel or the AVID elective directly, those students are invited in for a little boot camp. It's a 2-day boot camp, typically the week before school starts. Again, our junior high is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So 6th graders who have been accepted in the AVID program get to come in for a little 2-day mini boot camp of like a little bit of like AVID drinking from a fire hose kind of a concept. Like you're going to get full on the AVID immersive experience over 8 hours over 2 days. And so that's also grown over the last couple of years, where I think the first year we had like 6 kids, and this year I think we had like 26 kids who all came. So it was just awesome. So, Andrea, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. One thing I did want to speak to this as well, though, and I was kind of talking about this a little bit earlier, the door is not closed after 6th grade. And I think that's something that we've evolved as well over the course of the year. We have, I mean, as recently as I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, an 8th grader has expressed interest in joining the AVID elective. And so Lori, again, sat down and interviewed the student and spoke with the student, sought out their why, met with the family. What does that look like, with obviously the goal of, once you're in that AVID elective, it's not just through junior high, but you're extending that through the high school, your time at the high school as well. So that's something, again, we've as we're on this journey to grow and to get more closer towards the demonstration school, is how are we opening up more doors versus closing doors for students? One thing we just implemented this last spring, we did, these are some of our AVID ambassadors. And I know Dr. Anderson had a chance to meet some of these students last year. This is a group of our 8th graders who, again, last spring, they filled out a multiple page application to become an AVID ambassador. And the AVID ambassadors, if you'll notice the picture on the left-hand side, that's Mercedes, who's also our student council president. She is helping 6th graders open their locks on the day before school started. So we had our AVID ambassadors. This is a group of 7. I think we are up to 12 now, because students saw this the first day of school and they're like, I want to be involved in that. We even have 6th graders who are AVID ambassadors now, who have been in the school for 4 months now. But everything from the day before school, helping our 6th graders really navigate the building with lockers, to when we have guest speakers or any visitors to our building, the AVID ambassadors will greet them and kind of walk them through and help them prepare for their day and their experience here at Harvard Junior High School. It's a program that's definitely growing. One thing we've been very, very fortunate, especially starting last January, is where we saw a big need for this. We had 25 brand new students from January till the end of the school year to not only the country, the United States, America, but to Harvard. And we recognize, how are we helping those new students who might not just be moving from a neighboring community, but from a neighboring country, come to our school? So our AVID ambassadors are really, really wonderful connections with the students, obviously presenting AVID, but just who we are and what we believe in here at the junior high school as well. Where we've evolved AVID for All is in the last couple of years. And we have a program, our homeroom advisory is called Hive. We are the Harvard Hornets. And so Hive is our hub. And so students are, put into a Hive at each grade level per their 3 years while they're at the junior high. And first of all, we, up until about 3 years ago, we had a total of 24 hives across the building. Well, we still have 24 hives, but every single hive has 2 staff members in it. So I may be a 6th grade language arts teacher, and my hive partner might be a PE teacher. And the idea that every student in a hive setting automatically has that opportunity for relational capacity with 2 adults in the building. They may not see that adult throughout the rest of their school day, but they know starting every day, they have those 2 staff members who are committed to AVID and committed to relational capacity. Last December, I believe it was, I had the opportunity to go to the national conference in San Diego and attend some sessions on relational capacity, specifically how it connects to an advisory program. I was like, that's it. This is where we got to go. And we have adopted really focused on the AVID advisory component for our hives. And that's been a partnership not only at the junior high school, but evolved through the high school as well. So we have a 6-12 continuum of advisory programming for our students, which is building it this year and evolving it beyond. One thing we also noticed that if you had an IEP or if you chose to be in band and choir, let's say, you did not have the opportunity to be a part of the AVID programming. And that to me, and I'm going to talk about me for a second here, that really ticked me off because, like, if this is so great for everybody, why are we kind of withholding those opportunities for some of our students? And so what we did was we evolved it to we've reimagined when our resource classes occur so that any student who has an IEP who may be in a resource class who previously didn't have the opportunity to even see anything of AVID, they have an opportunity to either be in the AVID elective or for sure are getting AVID lessons. You could say maybe AVID Light, but AVID lessons through the advisory programming as well. This is what a week at a glance looks like for our advisory. We had an awesome team this summer. We had junior high representatives and we had high school representatives. And this is, I think, yeah, this is last week or so. What did each day of AVID in advisory look like? So you'll notice Tuesday and Thursdays are always going to be AVID specific lessons. It might be an activity, December binder check, which obviously we know is really, really important and valuable for AVID. What are different post-secondary options? So it's really this idea, again, that we have 589 students on our campus and 589 students are having the opportunity to be a part of this really great programming. And again, all the advisories have 2 staff members in them, and this is a continuum that we built over the summer, not only 6-8, but 6-12 as well. Hornet Happenings is just a Friday celebration that we do every week. One of those great things that we did come out of COVID is Zoom. So we have Zoom, basically mini assemblies every single Friday where we're doing AVID raffles, we're doing AVID celebrations, we are doing athletes of the week, just a way to connect with all of our staff, staff and student spotlight, things like that. So that's a fun way to connect everybody on Fridays as well. This is just one of our examples. Portrait of a Graduate is is something that we committed to over the last 2 school years. But how do we embed those aspects of Portrait of a Graduate through our AVID framework as well? Really focusing on writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. So this was one of our Portrait of a Graduate activities last week. It's kind of hard to see, but on the different individual, they kind of look like gingerbread men, AVID gingerbread men. Just what their characteristics and what their areas and what their goals are in their different Portrait of a Graduate competencies. I've been kind of talking a lot, especially about just AVID advisory. Any questions?
I have a question. You talked about, and I love that you said that, you guys are expanding it. So if they can enter in 7th grade or 8th grade, we only have it at the high school here. So do you guys re-communicate with kids maybe at like the end of 8th grade year to be in the AVID elective for 9th grade?
Yeah, so Lori, what will happen is in late January, early February, the high school counselors will come over to our building and do literally they'll have the individual meetings with every single 8th grader to develop their freshman year schedule. And that's where Lori is integral with that, with the 8th graders in particular, of talking about that continuum and that growth of AVID going to the high school as an elective as well. And I think, and Maura could speak to it a little bit greater. I apologize, I don't have the high school numbers data in front of us, but the retention rate is very, very high of students who are continuing at the high school. I think a lot of that is truly because of the foundation that's being built here, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We know that at the high school, there are more opportunities for more electives. But at the same time, we also know we have, I think last year we had about 30 students from the high school graduate who had gone through the AVID elective program all the way through their high school graduation.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yep, always continuing to move forward with that. Just a little bit more, and I'll go kind of quickly through these last couple slides because I know we're running a little bit short on time. So again, how we're building towards that targeted demonstration. 2 weeks ago, I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, Brent was here at the junior high school again. Here, a couple of our AVID ambassadors who greeted him and had a chance to kind of show him around the building. And what will happen is Brent comes at least once, if not multiple times a year, and does a site visit with us and gives us really good and needed and sometimes hard feedback to to take in, but it's really that constructive feedback of like, here's the things that I'm seeing that are doing really well. Here's still those areas of focus for growth. And then so we'll do is we'll bring that back first and kind of dissect that as our AVID site team, our building leadership team. But I'm guaranteeing you in January, this is going to be a big focus of the notes and the feedback that Brent shared with us, because we have this second half of the school year to continue to grow and to evolve and, see where AVID truly is living and breathing in everything that we do. So Brent's visits to us are extremely, extremely valuable. Also, encouraging us to either participate in Summer Institute, possibly going to see other demonstration schools as well. I know 2 years ago, a group of us had an opportunity to go to a school in Mequon, Wisconsin, and see some really great things happening there as a potential model for us as well. Like I said, Dr. Anderson walks through, he gives us that feedback, and we bring it back to all the different levels or areas, excuse me. Where we are as a building currently, and we've had some staff turnover the last few years or so, but currently 43% of our staff have been AVID trained, and that is either going to Summer Institute or going to other institutes throughout the course of the school year or during the course of the summer. We are always embedding AVID and Wicker strategies and in-house professional development at all staff and PLC meetings. We really are committed to Wicker walkthroughs. So administratively or as AVID leads, we're just walking through the building, seeing what's happening, not from a evaluative format, but really just like, here's some great things, here's some glows I saw, here's some growths. So, and then an area of growth, I actually had an opportunity to be at a presentation with Brent a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking with a couple of other local principals who are AVID schools as well. And a goal would be, how do we embed that language and specific Wicker strategies into the evaluation framework as well? So really, me being very cognizant, I had a great pre-observation meeting yesterday with a staff member, and that concept of like, what different strategies, what areas of Wicker will I have the opportunity to see when I'm in your classroom today? Things like that. So really being intentional with that as well. So it's not just a thing, it's the thing. This was our team that went to San Antonio last summer. So a great group of us had a chance to go down to San Antonio last summer. You have everything in this picture from special education, science, student support facilitator, who's like our dean of students, social studies, librarian, AVID Excel teacher. So a broad, that concept of really casting that net to any and all and wanted people who we really are promoting to bring this out through the different content areas as well. Some opportunities and challenges that we have ahead of us. This great opportunity, we dove into the high advisory work this past summer, grades 6 through 12. We went 3 years without an AVID tutor, which I know was a huge challenge for Lori, but she was really innovative with that and partnering with Maura as well, of how she was starting to bring our 8th graders down to do some peer tutoring for those TRFs in 6th grade and 7th grade as well. Systems are being put into place to just really show greater consistency across and success for students at the high school. So going back to the question that was asked, like, how are we keeping students at the high school? We're excited, and I'm going to be a little boastful maybe for a second. The high school team says, guys, the freshmen are so prepared when they come to the high school with those strategies for success, with those skills, and knowing what it is to be an AVID student. So really, really proud of that. We're really committed to binders across the campus. That's ebbed and flowed on the last few years, but really getting more consistency there. And then also really inviting a lot more guest speakers in to just really focus on that college and career readiness. A couple of weeks ago, we had a professional in the realm of sociology, and a couple of weeks prior to that, we had reptile specialists. We've had a professional dancer come last year and spoke to our students, and just really exploring those ideas of like committing to these beliefs and where that can take you in your pathway, college and career and beyond. Where we are now, again, last piece I think I'm going to really focus on is we have developed a pre-K-12 scope and sequence of Wicker strategies and where they live in different content areas throughout the district and at different grade levels. So This is just an example. Again, this is a couple of content areas, but what we did is really put together this data set of where are different strategies, what are resources that we're embedding into different content areas. Because I think a lot of times like, oh, well, I don't do that. Well, yeah, you do. Look at this right here. Look at all the great things that are happening in different strategies. Maybe you're not saying wicker per se, but you know that you've embedded a different strategy in your class. I actually just had a random conversation with somebody this morning about like World Cafe. She was talking about a strategy she's doing. I'm like, that's World Cafe. She's like, oh yeah, I've heard of that before. So the things that we don't even know that we're using sometimes. And this is who we are. This is Harvard Junior High School as a whole staff. And yeah, I appreciate having the opportunity to just talk a little bit about our journey. We're not there yet, but we're making some progress and busting our tails to get there as a whole building. So thanks for letting me talk for a really long time this morning.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Tom. We appreciate it.